They say if you're going through hell, just to keep moving, that you might get out before the devil even knows you're there. But then what do you do when you get out? All you can do is see the light at the end of the tunnel, and hopefully you can become a better person. But you'll never forget the hell that you went through and the fire you walked through. A phoenix rises from the ashes for a reason. Your world must be destroyed before you can become new. And rise you shall, just like they feared you would. This conversation may be triggering for some listeners. Listener discretion is strongly advised. Our goal is to shed light on these difficult issues in a respectful and supportive way. If you or someone you know is struggling, please seek help from qualified professionals or contact a support organization in your area. Hi, Brady.
Hi, Ria. How's it going?
It's going great. I am loving life out here, and I am super excited about getting this podcast off and running. Finally, this is going to be the third episode. For everyone who's watching, thank you for joining us. This is Despite the Darkness. The whole idea is that we all have some sort of bullshit trauma, at one point in our lives. And even though we are all so different, we all deal with these kind of things, and everybody has a story, I believe, that is just super interesting, and I'm super fascinated by that. And so that's kind of where this came from. And they say that there's, only a couple ways you can come out of trauma or difficulties, and that's either status quo, the same, right? Or damaged, but I like to think of it as that you can be better due to what you've been through. You know what I mean? And so I think there's three ways you can come out, and I think you can be damaged and you can be better as well. So I just, was super interested to hear your story. For everybody who's watching, this is Brady. Brady is a recovering alcoholic, right?
Absolutely.
And Brady is a friend from San Diego that we've known for a while. He follows my husband's band and also used to be in a relationship with somebody that I knew, and that's kind of how we met. So I'm going to go ahead and give Brady the floor. We are super into hearing the life story if we can.
We totally
And
can.
that is going to be pretty much, I guess as well, the gist of this show is, if you died tomorrow, what would you want people to know about you?
Man, that's a tough one. There's always hope and there's always change. One of my favorite sayings is it's never too late to get your shit together. I come from a small town in San Diego called Poway. A bunch of people out there know me, rooting for me, supporting me. But it's a challenge growing up there, especially in the era I did with the people I was hanging out with. So pretty much I was raised by my grandparents. My family had their own issues. My grandparents stepped up. And they did the best they could with me. I didn't cause trouble. I wasn't out running around doing things I wasn't supposed to be doing. But along those lines, I got lost, just like anybody else. They were great to me. I had a great childhood. I guess the hardest part that I'm just coming now to realize is that I felt like something was missing. I still, to this day, I have pretty bad abandonment issues. My main thing is to shut down and drink. I never needed a reason to drink. I drank because I drank. I drank because I was happy. I drank because I was sad. I drank because I was hurt because I wanted to drink. That involves a lot of depression. I still, to this day, struggle with depression. Honestly, it's something I can control most of the time, but it's a dark place. When you're young and you're trying to fit in and you find a group of friends, you really dig in and, you want them to be everything for you. They're your end all be all. And pretty much what I had learned is the biggest thing we did was drink. We got together, we drank, we had fun. Now most of those friends are in jail, dead, or there's a couple people who actually made it out. I'm 4 years sober now, coming up on 5 in March. It's something I don't struggle with as bad as I did in the beginning. And I know we spent some time together while I was drinking, and we had some good times, but it was all the bad times that made it hard. But growing up, I had a great childhood. I had family that supported me. Pretty much, I had the Disneyland trips, I had the SeaWorld trips, I had the love, I had the support. So I can't blame anything on that. I would say things started going sideways about high school. That's when the drinking started. That's when the partying started. That's also when I met my ex-wife. From there, we were together for, pretty close to 15 years. And we have a daughter together. We got married. Everything was gravy until it wasn't. And that's usually how it goes. When it wasn't
You
anymore,
guys were partying together?
no, initially she did a little bit, but it was mostly me and the friends. She was there. She was, having fun. She was a designated driver, whatever, she wanted to be. Yeah, I mean, we were great until we weren't. And then basically the drinking got out of control. There was domestic violence, not from me. There was a lot of fights. There was a lot of outside influence. And then one day I came home from work and her and my kid were gone. She was 3 at the time. Essentially what had happened is I came home, all the stuff was gone. Everything that was left was just my stuff. I didn't really have anywhere to go or anybody to depend on because I was the sole provider. I was everything at that point in time. I was also working an insane amount of hours. I'd get up at 6 o'clock, be at work by 7. I'd work till 6, 7 o'clock at night, come home, work some more remotely till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. So I was always working so I could provide that stable family atmosphere. But yeah, I mean, I was drinking. I'm not saying that wasn't the case, but I was drinking when I could. It was tough. After that, I pretty much didn't know what I was going to do. I self-implode. I drank, and then I drank some more. I actually had a seizure when I was driving down the freeway that day, leaving my apartment. Luckily, it wasn't enough to get me in trouble or anything like that, but there was a start of physical ramifications from my drinking.
When do you think like the depression started? With the drinking?
Yeah, I would say
You think it just triggered something that put your chemical balance out of whack?
absolutely. The highs were high and the lows were even lower. I think that had a big part to do with it. I did have a family. I did have everything I could need. But deep down, I was sad. I didn't have what I needed emotionally. And that's a big part too, because coming from a family where you're raised by your grandparents, emotion wasn't very big. It didn't really matter what the kids thought. It didn't really matter, what we had to say or anything like that. So as far as I was concerned, feelings were irrelevant. But yeah, from there, it just spiraled down. It got darker and darker. I was homeless for a while. I was living in my car. I lived in my car for 6 months. I bounced around where I could. I had family that tried to help me as best they could. Obviously, when you're drinking, that's extremely hard when you continue to drink. I don't hold
Yeah.
them at any fault, because that was on me. I chose it. But it was tough. From there came the arrests. I was arrested for DUI. I was arrested for felony concealed weapon, but I played it down. I mean, it just adds up. That's why, I say it lightly, but it's true. But I always say I'm allergic to alcohol because I break out in handcuffs.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then I was actually blessed with the opportunity to spend some extra time with my grandparents. They had a trailer on their house and I was able to fix it up for them. They let me stay there for a while, which was actually really good because they needed the help. After that, I continued to drink. That's my thing. I was doing what I was supposed to, but I was still drinking. And then I actually had an incident that put me in the hospital for about a month and a half. I was actually bitten by a spider. I can show you the pictures and nobody wants to see. But basically what had happened is because of my diet, my body refused to heal. They had talk about amputation, infectious diseases. People were in there every couple of hours, getting in there and testing it and all that stuff.
Because of drinking?
So it's from the state that
Or
my
your
body was.
diet?
Yeah, because I wasn't eating properly. I wasn't hydrating. I wasn't doing literally anything I needed to do to take care of myself. And a lot of that
Yeah.
has to do with the depression. It was just a more so a matter of getting by. Shortly after that, I went to rehab for the first time. I did 30 days. It was basically a residential treatment facility. I did my 30 days. I got out. Shortly after that, I was back to drinking. Drink.
So you weren't able to just, have maybe a 6-pack after work or something like that. You would just have to keep it going.
I was at the point where a 30-pack would probably get me a little buzzed. I've always drank liquor, mostly vodka, and that's a tough one too, because it's easily accessible everywhere. Shoot, if I wanted to right now, I'd go down the street and get one, but I'm not,
Right.
And I think that goes overlooked a lot just because it is so accessible.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
after that, I bounced around some more. I went to a second residential treatment center. This one was a little more of a working opportunity. And I say that lightly because It was meetings, prayer, and work, which is, it helped me out. It got me a long ways. I made friends and family there that, would do anything for me today, and vice versa. I stayed there for a year and a half and I got clean. And, it's just, I wanted to stay sober.
So, where were your parents?
So my dad was around. I'm told, I don't know how to put it. I've gotten mixed
Just say
information.
it.
I've
Oh,
gotten mixed
okay.
information. Some from my family, some from other people.
So he's not
My,
in your life.
what's that?
So he hasn't been in your life.
It was sporadically. I'd see him once in a while, holidays, stuff like that. I hadn't seen my mom, or I haven't talked to my mom at that point since I was about 4. She had her own stuff going on. She had to take off, whatever. I get it. Especially being where I'm from. If you got to do what you got to do to at least preserve yourself. Recently, I'd say within like the last 10, 15 years, we've reconnected and we talked. I'd still like to meet her someday in person, but we'll see what happens.
Okay. So now were you staying with your paternal grandparents or your mom's parents?
It was my father's parents.
Your father's parents. Okay. And they were very much like children are to be seen and not heard, kind of
Exactly.
like, what are you doing? Yeah. That generation. Okay. Well, I would be willing to bet that's where a lot of your depression comes from because
Absolutely.
it's a PTSD thing. When you are so used to being sad, your body just doesn't know the difference, and your mind, and you're sad. You're just sad and you don't know why. And I guarantee you it's been with you, your whole life. And
Absolutely.
so I'm so sorry about that.
I don't know any different. This is what I have. And when it is good, it almost feels like a setup, like waiting for the shoe to drop. What's going to happen? All right, this is too good to be true. And unfortunately, in more instances than not, it's shown me right. Whether it be, okay, so I'm going to say this, but it's the truth. My downfall has always been alcohol and women. I will give 100%. I will give
You like the
110%.
cuckoo women, though, I think.
Sometimes.
You
Well,
like them a little cuckoo, because
yeah, but it's fun.
that one you were with before, there was a little bit of cuckoo-ness there. But I mean, don't get me wrong, huge heart. She had a huge heart.
Absolutely.
But I know that there were times where she'd be in her head and it would kind of push you over. And so I can see how you being somebody who would be drinking all the time, and then kind of avoidant as well,
Absolutely.
could trigger her to be crazy. And then that pushes. And then I know that there was cops called before and, things like that. And
Yeah,
then you breaking out in handcuffs.
exactly.
And I mean, not to bring this up or anything, but I know that there was an incident with a hotel, right? Where you were
Absolutely.
in a hotel for like a week or something, kind of just drinking and not going to work.
It was
And
actually
your
a
boss
month.
kind of helped you, didn't he?
For sure. Yeah, my boss, I'm actually living with him right now in Michigan.
Okay.
Him and his family have been nothing but great to me, and I owe them everything. They're one of the few people I know I can always count on. But yeah, to get back to the hotel, man. Yeah, I was in the hotel for 30 days. I ended up getting kicked out because they wouldn't allow anybody past 30 days, which is here nor there. It's whatever. But towards the end, I was drinking 2 handles of vodka a day. And I hadn't eaten in a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. I don't even know. I couldn't tell you. And my health was gone. There was days I couldn't physically get up because I didn't have it in me. The hotel is a scary part in my life, but it was definitely a big turning point. It was one of those instances I could explain it. I'll explain it. So towards the end of it, I would drink and drink and drink, and I lost my job, so I had nothing to do but drink. I had money coming in. This was towards middle of COVID, post-COVID, somewhere in there. So I had money coming in. I was fine. But what had happened was I was sick. I could feel my pulse fading. I could feel slipping in and out of consciousness constantly, and there was just not much left. There was one night I do remember, and I was facing the TV, and I could see big black shadows moving around. And I knew this was it. I knew there wasn't there wasn't coming back. They were coming for me. That's what was going to happen. And this was going to be the end, and I was going to die alone. And I can still to this day say that's my biggest fear. I do not want to die alone. So
Yeah.
honestly, I just sat there and I pleaded to God. I said, God, please save me. Get me out of this. I will never drink again. I will do whatever you want. I will be your servant for the rest of my life if I make it through this.
You just didn't want to die.
I didn't want to die, not there.
Yeah.
I didn't want somebody to find me. I didn't want a family member to find me or whatever it may be. People knew I was there. And there was a few people who would check on me and see what was going on and stuff like that. But at that point in time, there was nobody that could tell me different. This is what I'm doing. This is the way I'm going to go. Good luck to you. And, I made that deal with him. I actually pulled through so I tried to get into a different program this time. And I had to have 5 days clean. In the process, I did have a mild stroke, other health complications. On my 5th day, my brain had had enough. I actually started hallucinating my first day in this new program. And it was so bad to where the point where I couldn't differentiate reality from what I was seeing. So I had to take the good old ambulance trip down to the hospital. Basically, they sedated me for 2 weeks. And that I continued to hallucinate the whole time. But my tox screens came back clean, so they allowed me to stay. And I did. I put in a whole nother year there. And then,
and
luckily,
that's the last time you drank?
That's the last time I drank. It was March 2021.
But you had been sober for a while in between.
Yes,
because
I did.
You met this woman at your AA meeting.
I did. Yeah.
And she actually was the one who convinced you to start drinking again because you guys were sober together at the beginning.
So at that point,
but I don't think it took much convincing.
No, it really didn't. So at that point, I want to say maybe a year sober, maybe less. It was about a year, somewhere in there when I met her. But I can't blame her for anything. It was me who did it.
No, it was just the two of you together and meeting in that way and stuff. It was like almost like inevitable. Like, don't they say not to get into a relationship in the first year or something? I mean, you had been a year at this point, but she hadn't.
Correct.
I don't think.
Yeah, and so she actually hit her year. I was at 2.5 years. It was right around Christmas. And she had hit her year and decided she wanted to drink. And my biggest downfall has always been like, fuck it, let's do it. And so I've had to completely change my mindset and my attitude with saying that, because if I say that, something dumb is going to happen. Yeah. And so, we drank. And it went just as badly as you would expect. And I mean, you know about it. How deep and dark it got, and ultimately led to my arrest. I was served a restraining order while I was in the house. I'm not a violent person. I never have been. But I was served a restraining order. I couldn't get my shit together quick enough, so they arrested me on the spot.
Yeah, you didn't have anywhere to live.
And I still, to this day, if I'm hurt, I won't yell, I won't scream, I won't fight. I will shut down and just go do my own thing. And usually involves me being stuck in my head more than anything. And it's just one of those things. And then, I got sober again, and I had a lot of good things happening for me. One of them was actually going back to work with my company that I was at. They sent me all around the United States, opening these shops and training people, and I had a great time doing it. It's just one of those things, though, where it felt too good to be true. So they asked me to relocate out here to Michigan. So I did. I packed everything up and I moved out here. I think I was here. It was about a year I worked out here with them. And then they brought in a new regional, and then there was some bullshit associated with that, and I got pushed out. Okay, cool, whatever. I'll move on. But I don't think it's one of those things where I can force it. I just want to do my job, go home at the end of the day. But after that, I've worked at a couple different places. I'm fucking sick of Michigan. I need to get the fuck out of here.
Where would you rather go?
I'm going back to San Diego.
Yeah.
I mean, my family's there. My daughter's there. All my friends are there. I have a couple friends here that I love and adore, but ultimately I need to get back to my daughter. I had originally planned for her to come out here and spend some time with me. I had a 2-bedroom apartment that was all done up for her and everything like that, but there is a lack of communication on one side, but I still do my part whether I know they're going to answer the phone or not. Just because at least that way she knows I tried and she knows I cared.
Right. That's good.
Absolutely. And it makes it tough because I'll still send text messages and call and everything 2, 3 times a week. But I'm hoping at some point, maybe I can mend that relationship between my ex and I and my daughter so we can actually have a cordial relationship, and be civil.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a big part of my healing as well, is to be able to settle that once and for all. I just want to be happy.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all full humans. We all go through bullshit. And so, yeah, you probably will have to do a lot of, being there for her, and that's why it's so important for us to have our shit together, and for us to try to heal our bullshit, because our kids are, as much as we like it or not, they're gonna have shit that they're going through. And,
Absolutely.
they need strong parents.
I would love more than anything to have the opportunity to be there for her.
Yeah, but you don't want to end up like your mom, where you're now connecting as adults, you know what I mean? And so
No,
you're keeping that up with her to make sure, just hearing I love you all the time, and just, how you doing and checking in all the time, that can go so far, especially with kids.
absolutely. On average, I talk to her maybe once every 6 months. It's just, I don't know why. I can't explain why. That would be from the other side.
Right.
But I'm just kind of on the block on that one. So
You're there for her.
I'm
That's
always
good.
there for her. She could call me today and said, Dad, I need you, and I'd be there.
Have you been going to any type of therapy or anything like that?
I've done therapy in the past.
Uh,
I had one guy and he just looked me dead in the face and goes, wow, that's fucked up. And that was about all the help I got. I've tried therapy and recovery through the medical system, and all they did was just give me drugs. And I didn't think that was probably the best way to go about it, seeing as I was still going to drink anyways. But I mean, I've been to therapy quite a few times, but I just don't find it beneficial for me. But I guess that goes
yeah.
back to expressing your feelings. That's not something I was ever,
Yeah, that's true. It just doesn't feel like natural to you to actually seek out somebody to talk to,
right.
because have always had to kind of keep it inside. I've never been to therapy either, but I think that it doesn't have to be for everybody. It's
Sure.
all our responsibilities to try to, it's our responsibilities to heal ourselves once we become adults. At
Exactly.
that point, there's no excuse. You have to kind of do something about it if you want to stop it. And it looks different for everybody. Looks different for everybody. I mean, there's some people that don't even get clean until, they're old, or they feel like they're going to die. That's why they call it, rock bottom,
Absolutely.
you
And
know.
it's just like recovery too, is it's not one size fits all. It may work for somebody, but it doesn't have to work for everybody.
Mhm.
Me, my therapy was always drinking. I didn't have to feel it if I was drinking, which actually, so this last breakup I just had about a month ago, that was a tough one. And honestly, that was my first breakup completely sober. I am trying to figure out how to process that without drowning it out. I don't want to feel it. I don't want to go through it, but unfortunately I do. But I'm just going to move forward. That's all I can do at this point.
Yeah.
Together for a couple of years, where it would have been coming up on 2.5 years.
Okay.
Essentially, about a year prior, there was an issue where she was having conversations with her ex. She lied about it. Her big thing was communication, which, it was something that I myself was working on to be able to do that. Obviously, for me, it's not going to be a quick and easy thing, but it was something I was working on. And then when
Right.
that happened, I just shut down. There was no more discussing it. She couldn't say shit to make me feel better. It didn't matter. You know what? But I did love her enough to stick it out and try to work through it. I can put my feelings on the backside for somebody else, whatever. But it took forever for me to get that trust back
Yeah. It
because,
does.
I mean, what else is she lying about? What else is going on that she's not telling me? So that was difficult. And then basically about the time I was starting to come around and starting to open up, she decided she didn't want to be with me anymore. She decided that her life would be happier.
Do you feel like that you just want to be loved so bad that when you find somebody that you click with, you kind of like latch onto that a little bit?
I
Yeah.
think, at some point we all want to be loved, but that's what I hold on to. If somebody tells me, hey, I love you, you know what? I feel that. I feel that I love you, kind of deal. Like I put my heart and my soul and everything into it. And then it was just gone. That was
Yeah.
it. So now I'm essentially
But
homeless
there
trying to,
were red flags. You know there were.
I'm blind
So
to
you
red
need to
flags.
have
You know this.
what you need is you need to have a better love for yourself and just love yourself enough to have higher standards for somebody.
That is a hard thing for me to do.
Yeah.
I give everything and expect nothing in return. When this stuff happens, and I would even so looking at it from a sober perspective, when all this happened, it's like, what the fuck did I do? I've been the one pouring into this, but what the fuck?
Yeah, sometimes that doesn't matter at all, especially when the person's just a taker, you know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now I'm
Yeah.
prepping, trying to get back.
Well, today I heard this quote. I was listening to this thing about depression. When you get to this point where you're kind of like, you're almost so depressed that you're just like, what is the point? Like, what is even the point of today? What is the point of what I'm doing right now? Like, nothing feels fulfilling, you know? And the quote that she said, and she said that she'll say it over and over while she's meditating. And it's gratitude unlocks the fullness of life. It makes what we have enough and more. And she was saying it over and over and over. And she kind of had this epiphany that if she didn't, because she was a heroin addict, that if she didn't go through her addiction, that she wouldn't feel so grateful, because she started finding herself grateful for the sunset, like grateful for that tree, like just seeing things so beautifully and feeling this overwhelming gratitude when she would be out in nature or, doing certain things when she started to really try to heal herself, you know?
Absolutely.
And she said that there's something called post traumatic growth syndrome almost. It's just like almost the opposite of PTSD, but the same. So, in other words, it's like it's a positive impact that those trauma things happen to you.
Sure.
And that basically, when you come out of it, you come out stronger, happier, more resilient, these kind of things. And so, hitting those low lows, you can really appreciate the things that are really good in life. And I think that if we can get to that, because I also deal with depression, I deal with all the things, anxiety, anger. I self medicate. I've been high since I was 13 and I still smoke weed. You know what I mean? And I'll never quit that. I will be smoking till the day I die. Like that, it's just a thing. I'm going to be that old ass lady with a blunt. That's just me. But, that hasn't negatively affected my life, and thank God I never got into any like real, don't get me wrong, I experimented a lot, but I never had that thing where I would kind of go over the edge with things. But I did have a lot of trauma as a younger child. I made my episode too, and I'm putting it out soon. So you'll see what I'm talking about when you watch the episode. But
I can't wait to
I
see
feel
it.
like I have that now. Like I always identified with having kind of PTSD because of the fact that like even like on a day where I don't have weed to smoke, I'm a nightmare. Like I'm a bitch. I'm like fucking bitchy, like snapping, like annoyed, all that. And then I take my hit of weed and I'm just like, huh. And thank God they went ahead and decided to call it medicine because now I don't feel too bad.
I
I
get
have a
it.
prescription for that shit. But with that too, I'll find myself like, fuck, this is illegal. Like, no, I have a card for it, but I just come from that generation. So, but I don't know. I would love to see you get to that, that post traumatic growth.
I would love to be there. We're going to set that as a long term goal.
Yes.
I just know that I am completely blessed to be here today. I am grateful beyond belief to be not where I was. It could have easily been me. I don't know about you, but I've lost a ton of friends in the last 10 years to drugs or alcohol or whatever sort of depression, that's associated with that. And I could have very easily been one of those, and I'm glad I'm not.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have had a lot of friends who just the party just never ended for them. And so they just kind of fell off my radar. When you start to elevate yourself, it's like a frequency thing. You just put yourself on a different frequency and you just can't be, you know, associated with those people anymore. It just is what it is.
Absolutely.
And that's really important, especially going back to like San Diego, for instance. That has to be really hard getting clean in a community where everybody is, an addict or your party friends,
Well,
stuff
and
like
the
that.
the advantage to that is I have a ton of friends that I absolutely love and adore from the AA community. I've got 100 people on my phone I can call at any point in time if I needed them.
Yeah, that's
Um,
awesome.
so that aspect of it is just association. The biggest causes for my relapse is people, places, and things. So I try to avoid those for long periods of time until I actually had some time under me. Because now I can go sit in a bar and listen to music and have a soda. I can go to a concert and not have to worry about getting trashed or feeling like I need to or whatever it may be. So that's a big advantage right there. Just
Hmm.
knowing I have the love and support, it means the world to me. A couple friends, they'll just text me randomly, "Hey, how are you doing? Just wanted to let you know I love you. When are you coming home? We need you
Yeah,
here."
that's awesome.
And that's the turning point for me is just getting back to what I love doing and with the people I love. A couple weeks ago, I don't know if you saw, but I was in the hospital. Um, I had
Yeah,
this
I
whole
did.
I had this whole freak thing happen, but it's a long story. Essentially, I got my face kicked in real bad when I was 16. My jaw has been an issue ever since. Of all the freak things to happen, I yawned and my whole jaw dislocated.
Whoa.
It took 2 surgeries to get it back in. It was dislocated for a total of 7.5 hours.
My gosh.
That was probably one of the worst things that I've ever been through, accident wise or hospital wise or surgery wise or anything like that. But yeah, I can honestly say that was probably one of my more down days prior to that happening. It's my own worst enemy when I get in my head. And I just, I do battle depression. I'm still battling it. I have to take it in stride. And that was a down day. I had ran across the street to the gas station and, I was just getting a pack of smokes and I was just really down and in my head all day. And I just wanted to break down. And I had the thoughts of, well, maybe if I take my time a little extra crossing the street, that truck over there is going to plow me or whatever it may be. And honestly, it's of all days to happen, that's the day to happen because I think it was God showing me if that's the way you want to think, I'm going to show you something. And he did. Absolutely. I mean, it could always be worse. It was definitely a reminder of where I could be and what could happen. And, I don't want that life.
Yeah.
And then I started everything else realizing, well, my daughter, I have family, and with my depression, it's not so much the harm for myself. It would be the way my brain tells me is it would alleviate stress for them because they don't have to worry about me. They don't have to worry about me drinking. They don't have to worry about me getting in trouble. They don't have to worry about me dying freakishly, And these are the thoughts that I go through on a regular basis, and I'm just like anybody else. I have my good days, my bad days. My good days are really good, but my bad days are fucking bad.
Mm.
I like, we were talking about earlier. I just want to be fucking happy.
Yeah, but that's also not realistic either, and so I think the thing that's really, really important to remember is that like that's never gonna go away. It's the important part is getting the balance and not letting it suck you in too much. And I had somebody on the podcast actually last week, Chris, and he was telling me that a technique that he uses is that, especially when, like, for instance, him and his wife start to, you know, because she deals with her mental stuff too. And they learned a tip to write down all of the truths about their relationship, about how they feel about each other, about even their life. Like, my daughter loves me, my parents love me, whatever the truths are.
Sure.
And then that way, whenever your brain is telling you lies, you can go and you can read your truths and it can kind of, kind of snap you out of it a little bit. And I
Absolutely.
was like, that's really interesting. And he keeps it in his drawer just in case they're having one of those, you know, days where it's like hard to remember, what's really true because our
Sure.
brain will tell us lies.
100%. My brain lies to me every single day.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. And everybody, I think, deals with that kind of thing in different, there's a huge spectrum.
There really is. And it's, some people battle more severe than others. I have a cousin who had a lot of addiction issues. She lost everything and ended up taking her life. And I still, to this day, think about that. And it's just one of those things where I don't want people to remember me like that. Like,
Yeah,
if anything, I want them to remember me for my courage or my strength or my heart or whatever it may be. At the end of
yeah.
my life, I hope somebody has a good story to tell about me for whatever reason, and it'll bring a smile to somebody's face and be like, yeah, that was him.
Yeah. And it's a great way to encourage yourself to just keep going and keep it up and, stay positive if you can. You don't have to be positive all the time, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Just as long as you have like healthy ways to deal with it, that's the thing, and I think a misconception is that, happy people are happy all the time. They're not. Nobody is, and that's unrealistic. On the flip side, some people are sad all the time. That's why it's harder. It's harder to fight that. And so that's why I also called this Despite the Darkness. Okay. I'll say I'm proud of you.
Thank
And
you.
I'm sure your daughter is proud of you for doing so good. I'm sure she remembers some of the crap, even though she's young, so I'm sure she's proud of you.
Absolutely. And every time I see her, it's like the first time I've seen her. And she couldn't be more excited to see me. And she's super excited to get me back in town. The
Yeah.
first things out of her mouth was, when are we going fishing? Can you pick me up from school?
Yeah. She's ready.
She's very ready. I think she's tired of her
So
mom's
when are
shit.
you going back to San Diego?
As of right now, it's looking like end of October.
All right. So you can be there with her on Halloween, maybe.
That's my goal. I would love to go trick or
So
treating.
is there anything else? Like, is there anything maybe that you would say right now to somebody who's going through it? Somebody who's feeling depressed, somebody who is an alcoholic, maybe somebody who is right in the middle of that binge drinking in the hotel. What would you say?
I would say, man, um, there's always hope. There's always hope. There's always somebody who has it worse. You can do better. You can be better. You can achieve more. Just don't give up.
You can't be better if you're not here. So
Exactly.
stick around. I had a friend who committed suicide. It's still really hard to think about sometimes because she had a little sister who was in the room next to her at the time of when it happened. And she had, well, when I say she, I'm talking about my friend who she actually shot herself.
Wow.
And she did it in the room next to her sister while her sister was in the house with her.
Man.
And she was just in the depths of despair. And I just think about all the time. I always think about like how happy and proud she would be of her sister because her sister has two children. Her sister is very, well-rounded for the most part. She lost her sister, and that's just all I would say, from me personally, just seeing that is you just never know how good it can get if you don't stick around, to see it. And so that's why suicide is like the most devastating thing. That's why I feel like it's so important to do something like this, and I feel like as many shows as there are about people's lives and as many docu-series and documentaries there are, it never ceases to amaze me or interest me or fascinate me to hear somebody's story or their perspective.
Absolutely.
So,
I guess one thing I'm super vocal, especially with my friends, Um, hey, I love you. Be safe, have fun, whatever. I will always tell them I love them because I know tomorrow's not promised.
right.
And there's the one, they know I love them. And I just hope that if I did die tomorrow, they just remember the good times and not the bad. More than anything, just live, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I feel like that is like they say, okay, what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to live. That is it. the joy, the pain, all of it. Like if you were to be, wherever in the universe, in heaven, whatever, you believe after life, just if you were in the position to be able to look back when you're no longer on this earth to everything that, I've gone through, I would say, I wouldn't take it back because it's everything of who I am and it's the full human experience.
Absolutely.
And so you just have to make the best of it and you have to be present and you just have to do your best, do the best you can in this moment. And it's okay to be sad, but just don't take it too far.
Every single thing I've been through has shaped who I am today. You can ask anybody who knows me. I have a heart of gold, is what I'm told. I'm told I'm a good man. I'm this, I'm that. And I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's not really that important, but at least they knew who I was.
Yeah, being authentic is super important. And showing people that you care, like you said, that's huge. I think that's the best advice, just always be vocal about how you feel about people because they could be gone tomorrow, you could be gone tomorrow.
And fuck the
And you don't
bullshit.
want to live in misery. Like, pull yourself out of it. You can do it. Um, I know it's hard sometimes when, you're drinking, you're feeling this hole, it's making you feel better. I know how it goes, but you owe it to yourself to love yourself and to have a good life.
I'm going to work on it. That's for sure.
You can do it.
I have faith. It's just going to take that learning curve.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to catch up another time and see how you're doing and check in. And
For sure.
so thanks so much for hanging out and for talking to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me on. I'll do anything to support my friends and family.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Of
And
course.
you take care of yourself and yeah, keep us posted on how you're doing, okay?
Absolutely. I will talk to you guys soon. Love you guys.
Okay, bye.